These sticky caramel buns turned out so delicious. I had it in my mind that I was going to make a dairy-free version of some of my buns today using MCT oil powder instead of butter powder. And then I remembered that I have some flavored MCT oil powders from Perfect Keto that I have been wanting to play with. I have the cinnamon toast flavor and the salted caramel flavor, and I also have some more flavors that are coming in the mail soon that I'm excited to try. One thing that I've noticed about the flavored MCT oil powders is that they are very, very sweet. The flavor is really intense, but the sweetness is even more intense. So I thought that maybe if I use the MCT oil powder in place of the butter powder in my recipe, that it might be all I needed to make my base bread recipe into a sweet bun recipe. I experimented with a couple different of my bread bases, and the one that I liked best was using my best loaf recipe as the base. It turned out so good. I also decided to hurry up and put this video together because Perfect Keto is actually having another sale. Today and tomorrow, they're doing a summer staples sale. Basically, what you get is 25% off of your entire order, and there's no minimum that you have to purchase. You could just order one item and get the 25% off. So after this video is over, head down in the description below and you'll find the link and you'll find that special coupon code. Okay, now on to the recipe. The base of the recipe is the same as my best loaf recipe, and I am finding that this recipe is super versatile and I'm finding it useful for so many things, both sweet and savory. I'm absolutely loving it. The ingredients I'm going to be using are egg white powder, of course, unflavored gelatin, a little bit of arrowroot starch, which of course is optional, salt, of course I always use Redmond real salt, water, cream of tartar, and then at the end, after whipping, I'm going to be adding some egg yolk powder. You could also use whole egg powder if that's what you have. And of course, the secret ingredient, which is the salted caramel MCT oil powder from Perfect Keto. I also did one version of this recipe with the cinnamon toast MCT oil powder, and it turned out really good too. One other ingredient I forgot to show here is allulose. Thankfully, I realized I had forgotten it before it was too late. To the bowl, add 1¼ cups of water, which is 295 milliliters. Then sprinkle over the water 1 teaspoon of gelatin. Add in 100 grams of egg white powder. Sometimes it's called egg white protein powder or dried egg whites. The main thing you need to look for is that the ingredients should just be 100% egg whites. Next, add in your 2 tablespoons of arrowroot powder. This is also called arrowroot starch or arrowroot flour sometimes. They are all the same thing. I think the arrowroot adds great flavor and texture, but if you're going for the lowest carb count possible, feel free to omit the arrowroot. Next, add in 1½ teaspoons of cream of tartar, and I will mention here that if you don't like the sourdough-ish taste of the cream of tartar, feel free to cut it down to just ½ teaspoon. Add in 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and this is also where you should add in your 1/4 cup of allulose if you're not forgetting it. Start your mixer on low and slowly increase the speed to high until you get to full speed. Then whip at full speed for about 5 minutes until you get very stiff peaks. While the batter is whipping, you can prepare your pan. I'm using an 8x8 glass baking dish that I have lined with 2 pieces of parchment paper. I have a video on how I line my pans with parchment paper easily, so I will put that up in the cards. I'm also spraying the parchment paper with avocado oil spray. At this point, you should also prepare your ice cream scoop by coating it in coconut oil. I like to stick it in the fridge after I've coated it and leave it there until it's time to scoop the batter. Also, make sure to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. To a small bowl, add 2 teaspoons of dried yolk powder, or if you have whole egg powder, you can use 2 tablespoons of the whole egg powder. And to that, add your 2 scoops of the salted caramel MCT oil powder. Each scoop is 12 grams, so it'll be a total of 24 grams. Just give that a little mix to make sure it incorporates well. Once the batter has finished whipping, reduce the speed to medium and add in your MCT and egg powder mixture. Let it mix just until combined. You don't want to whip it at this point. Using your prepared ice cream scoop, go ahead and portion out the batter into the pan. I made my scoops very heaping because I wanted the buns to be very tall. Put the pan into the preheated oven and bake for 10 minutes. I did have leftover batter from this batch. I just scooped it into a mini loaf pan and threw it in the oven for a little mini loaf. While the buns are baking, go ahead and get the caramel sauce started. Add 1/4 of a cup of butter and 1/4 of a cup of allulose to a saucepan and heat on medium-high heat until the butter is melted and the allulose is fully dissolved. Whisk occasionally and bring the mixture up to a boil. Allow it to boil for about 30 seconds before removing it from the heat. Then whisk in 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. When the 10-minute cook time is up, take the pan out of the oven and pour the caramel sauce over the top. Just make sure everything is nicely coated. Then return the pan to the oven and cook for another 10 minutes. I cannot get over how beautiful these buns came out. They didn't fall at all, and they just were picture perfect. Keep in mind the sticky caramel is really, really hot right out of the oven, so don't dive in right away. Allow the buns to cool for 10 or 15 minutes or so. I know that's going to be really hard. These buns were 100% melt in your mouth delicious. There was sweetness in every bite because the caramel sauce coated the top and like went all the way down to the bottom to make this sticky, gooey crust. The flavor was phenomenal. They were so good. These would be perfect with a cup of coffee in the morning or really anytime. I'm thinking like a holiday breakfast, like a Christmas morning or Mother's Day brunch or something like that. Or really just anytime you're feeling like you need something a little bit extra or just feeling a little extra fancy, these would be perfect. I got so busy taking pictures of my beautiful caramel buns that I forgot about my mini loaf in the oven and it got a little bit overcooked. It's still edible and honestly, it's nothing a little butter can't fix. Don't forget to head into the description below and check out the info and the link and the coupon code for the perfect keto sale going on today and tomorrow. I also did want to mention here that if you don't want to purchase the flavored MCT oil powders, you could totally make this recipe using plain MCT oil powder that you might already have at home, or you could sub it with the butter powder, and then from there you could just add your own sweetener and caramel extract. The flavored MCT oil powder just makes it super convenient, and Perfect Keto's flavors are always so on point. They work out great in my recipes.